Well, joined now by Alero Ayida-Otobo, who is the co-chair Central Organizing Committee of the 20th Nigerian Economic Summit Group. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, what do we expect now? Yes, I know we've spoken to Mr. Felicia Phillips about this, but you also have a role you're playing in here. Yes. What do you expect from, perhaps let's start with your group.
Well, one of the key functions that I had to play, or key roles, was the chair of the technical committee. So we had to take care of the technical aspect of the Economic Summit with focus on education. And what we did over the 3 months was to identify the key issues in education and to understand the process for addressing those issues and coming up with recommendations. So we started with having 4 pillars that we wanted the summit to focus on. Okay, 4 key pillars that we felt that if we were able to achieve the setting up of those key pillars, we will address the issues. And the first was the centrality of education. It's not just about the education sector, but education pervades the entire national ecosystem. So education impacts trade and investment, education impacts health, education impacts politics. So we want this summit to bring to people's consciousness that it's not, the business of education is not just for the Ministry of Education at the federal and state level. Okay. That's one key pillar. Another one is, what should the products of our educational systems look like? What kind of competencies, knowledge, skills, values, attitude, what should they emerge with? What should they come out with? And if you look at the children that go through the United States educational system, or British, you know what to expect when you see a British student that has finished and has come through that system. In Nigeria, you don't know what to expect. You are not sure what the product should, what kind of qualities the product should have. And we want that to come out clearly so that we can begin to hold government, private sector accountable to say this is what we've agreed to. And the third is the structural reforms that we think we need to, policy needs to address. In other words, reforms that in the past we've glossed over, but if we don't shift certain structures within education, you can do all you want. All you'll be doing is papering over the wound instead of performing major surgery. And the last, the very, very last, is to say when our students graduate, a lot of us don't continue to read. That reading culture is not there. So we want the joy of reading to be infused into the educational system.
I was going to say, you seem to have what some would describe as a tall order ahead of you. I mean, what do you expect from one coming out of the Nigerian education system? Yeah. And then the reading culture in adults. It's like they're so concerned, someone said they're so concerned about making the money that reading is like put to the corner. Yes. So let's look at that aspect of what to expect from a graduate or one graduating from the Nigerian education system. How do you work that out?
How do we, what to expect? Right now what we have is that there's nothing to expect.
That's what I'm saying. And you're technically, I'm sure you looked at all of this. So how do you get to that point so you can have something
to expect? Let me tell you, one of our convictions is that we can try to fix the system as it is, but I think we need to start looking at the very foundation of education. So you will notice on the second day that we have a plenary session and also a design workshop focused on the neuroscience of early childhood and basic education. Why we're saying that we can fix and try and fix what we have now, well, really, let's start with another generation and make sure that we infuse in that next generation the values that we know we need in Nigeria that will address what you've just said. Let me just make money,
you're
and that's
attempting
it.
to create a new breed. And how does that affect those that have actually come through a process that is fraught with so many kinds of mistakes?
So many kind of...
Because I'm saying this because of over time we've had different kinds of policies and different kinds of systems that have actually thrown upon us graduates and even adults who haven't actually had a proper education. And if we have them there on this side and we're getting to focus basically on early education, How does that
I would tell
operate?
two-pronged approach. Stop the mess. So let's focus on early childhood, and then begin to address the mess. And that's technical and vocational education. And it's not just paying lip service to technical and vocational education. I think we really need to begin to recognize that it's actually technical and vocational education that's going to get us out of the rut. A nation cannot be built on just people who are lawyers, doctors, and architects. You need qualified professional artisans that you can trust to get things right. If they're going to build a structure for you, you're sure that everything is done properly. And cities, nations like Singapore, Hong Kong, it's those who use their hands. So we want to look at making technical and vocational education exciting. And there was an initiative about 7 years ago that were called VEIs and IEIs. And IEIs are Innovative Enterprise Institutes. And it's TVET, but driven by the private sector. And with NESG, having a partnership, private and public, we think this platform, this summit, is a great platform to push that initiative again to the forefront.
And Mr. Felicia Phillips used the word attractiveness to how to say you can attract, make it attractive. And it brings to mind our chat with Professor Abiola Awosika-Fakpetru, who said, well, a whole lot of people who are in the system, and we're talking about the caregivers and even teachers, there maybe because of frustration, not
because
choice.
Of choice.
So a lot of people who didn't get their first choice of study ended up in maybe some form of education department or college of education. How can we make it attractive and interesting to the extent that people will have this kind of passion, I want to be a teacher?
That's a good question. You know why I'm smiling? I'm tempted to say, attend the design workshop on teacher education, the new cadre of teachers, because that's what we're going to do there. We actually want to define the qualities that makes one not just an excellent teacher, but how do we make teaching attractive? And one of the initiatives that we like to push after this summit is one that will make teaching attractive. So it's something that you want to be a teacher. And it's almost like, for lack of a better word, how do we rebrand the teaching profession? Because it's not about pay. Other countries, teachers are not paid much more than other professions. But because of the ambience, because of the brand, because of what teachers stand for, like I love talking about the Finnish education system, the teacher there is called the candlelight of society. They are highly esteemed. Teachers were once highly esteemed in Nigeria. How do we bring that esteem back into the profession? We believe it can be done.